The president of Columbia University, Minouche Shafik, has resigned her position. The announcement follows the widespread pro-Hamas protests at that school. Jon Levine joins me now. What took her so long?
Well, it's good riddance to bad rubbish. That's all I have to say. I mean, I would have brought some champagne on set, but your producer said it'd be an FCC violation. Look, I think that, we all saw what happened at Columbia with the tent cities, and she did. Her problem was she tried to play both sides of the fence. She tried to simultaneously, bring law and order to campus, and she famously brought the NYPD on and they cleared it out. But she also tolerated it. And she also tried to sort of say, well, this is fine. And, you can't take half measures with this kind of stuff. You can't take half measures with anti-Semitism. You have to either throw in your lot with those people or you can roundly condemn it. And I hope that the next president of Columbia understands that and responds in a more forceful and forthright way.
If those demonstrators had gone after black people or any other minority, they'd be in prison.
You don't even need to finish that sentence.
They'd be in prison.
Of course.
There's a total dual standard here.
And the problem is, at Columbia, it's really coming from inside the house. These are not all outside agitators. A lot of these are students on campus who are radicalized by Columbia's very own professors. And we saw at the House hearing some of the things those professors were on record saying. So it's not enough. You won't be able to just bring in the NYPD every time. You need to fix the problem in your own house. So hopefully, they'll do that.
Well, I'm sure you saw this, but pro-Hamas protesters disrupted a campaign event for Kamala Harris in New York City last night. Fought with police. There was a rally, chanting, setting off smoke bombs, 14 arrested. John, when will Harris, if ever, address the pro-Hamas crowd? I mean, there's a convention coming up next week. Well, they're going to be there.
It's tough because the pro-Hamas crowd is now an integral part of the Democratic coalition that she is relying on to get elected. So she can't. She's in a similar position to Shafik. She's got to simultaneously hold on to the pro-Hamas voters in the Democratic Party. But there's also, Jews are going to vote for Democrats by 80% to 20% if passed as, president. So she's trying to thread that needle. And like Shafik, it's really just not possible. You cannot compromise with evil. You cannot make a deal with evil. And that's what, they're trying to do here.
Separately, there was a demonstration, a pro-Hamas demonstration in Ferguson, Missouri. Yeah. One police officer was injured. One of the people arrested was going to be a delegate for the Democrats at next week's Chicago convention. Okay, now he's resigned from that. He's not going to do it.
Okay.
But it brings up the question, supposing there are other people inside the convention who are pro-Hamas and could disrupt the hell out of that damn thing.
Oh, there will be. And I fully expect there to be major pro-Hamas disruptions because, remember, they're screaming Genocide Joe, but it's also Genocide Kamala. I mean, she's the vice president. She owns everything President Biden has done and stood for. It's her administration, too. And I fully expect them to be very vocal about it. And we'll see how she handles it.
Yeah, we will. Separately, the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, he's calling for changes to the city's sanctuary city law, he says, and I'm quoting now, people who are violent New Yorkers should not be allowed to stay in our city. What we need to alter are those who are repeat violent offenders. After they serve their time, they should be turned over to ICE and be removed from our city. That is not a full embrace of rejecting sanctuary city. That just means getting rid of a few guys arrested.
Right. It's really a bit of misdirection to say, well, I'm against sanctuary city. If you're a violent criminal, we're getting you out of here. Because if you're a violent criminal and you're an illegal alien, you're already supposed to be gone. You should be deported already. That should already. So it's not just the violent ones. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars that New Yorkers have to pay in taxes to feed and clothe and house these people. We have nowhere to put them. And I have to ask you, Stuart, if I break into your home and refuse to leave, am I really a migrant? Because there's really another word I would use for that. Everyone here who is here illegally is breaking the law. And I don't see any long-term solution except that they ultimately need to leave.
However, Trump says he begins mass deportations on the day of his inauguration. Can you deport 8 million people?
I mean, the short answer to that is probably not. But I will say that it's not about 8 million people on day one. I think you start with deporting who you can deport on day one. And maybe you don't start with 8 million. Maybe you start with 1 million. And then when that's done with, we see the landscape afterwards. And I don't think you ever get to a point where everyone's getting deported. But certainly, some deportations need to happen. No question.
The bad guys, the obviously bad guys need to go. John, thanks for joining us. Good stuff.